In 1807, slavery was abolished in the British Empire. Yet today, over 200 years after the slave trade ended, millions of men, women, and children are being bought and sold in the underground global slave trade. This is human trafficking. According to the United Nations, human trafficking is the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harbor, or receipt of persons by threat, force, coercion, abduction, fraud, or deception. It is the abuse of power over a position of vulnerability by giving or receiving payments or benefits to achieve the consent of a person. It is to have control over another person for the purpose of sexual exploitation, including prostitution, forced labor or services, slavery or practices similar to slavery, servitude, or the removal of organs. United Nations tallies suggest that there are 2.5 million people worldwide, including some 1.2 million children, involved in forced labor through global trafficking. Human beings recently surpassed drugs as the second largest illegally trafficked product worldwide, second only to weapons, making it a $5 to $9 billion a year industry. People are a highly valued commodity in the black market because of the high profits available to those involved in the modern slave trade. In a recent case in Canada, a 15-year-old girl earned her owner $120,000 a year through prostitution. The RCMP believe 800 to 1,200 people in Canada have been victims of human trafficking, but some activists peg the figure as high as 15,000. The RCMP encounters cases of women from across Canada, many from poorer communities, and the majority of them First Nations women and girls, who leave their homes and enter the sex trade in urban areas. Most were lured in by a boyfriend as a means of support, or through the promise of a good job in a big city. The RCMP has also noted several cases where Canadian girls have been taken abroad and sold. The RCMP estimates 2,200 people are trafficked into the U.S. from Canada every year. Internationally, Canada is considered a source, transportation, and destination country for victims of human trafficking. This means that men, women, and children are being trafficked from and through Canada to countries like the United States. This also means that thousands of people are being trafficked into Canada for the purposes of forced labor and for the sex trade. Since the first case of human trafficking appeared in the news in 1986, several cases of human trafficking have surfaced in the news media, each story more chilling than the last. The majority of people being trafficked are women and children, primarily for the sex trade, and it affects all nations and all people.
They say anonymous tips led them to a married couple whose nanny was working under slave-like conditions.
In 2005, the government passed Bill C-49 that amended the criminal code to identify human trafficking as a crime. This included withholding or destroying identification, immigration, or travel documents to facilitate trafficking in persons. Yet to date, only 3 people have been charged under this law. Bill C-49 was to be used in combination with Section 118 of the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, which targets cross-border trafficking in persons. Section 118 of the IRPA defines the offense of human trafficking as knowingly organizing one or more persons to come into Canada by means of abduction, fraud, deception, or the use of force or coercion. As of July 2007, no one has been charged under this section. What can you do to become a modern-day abolitionist? Learn as much as you can about human trafficking and spread the word. Talk to your member of parliament and senator about human trafficking. Be a voice. There is currently a bill in the House of Commons that would combat human trafficking. Bill C-268 was tabled by Joy Smith and would create a minimum sentence of 5 years for anyone convicted of trafficking a person under 18. You can find out more by visiting www.formycanada.ca.